Hi, everyone, and welcome to Brian's Horror Corner. I'm your host, Brian, and welcome to day 18 of my 31 horror movies in October Halloween series. So, about a week ago, I did a review for, I think it was day 11. Um, I did a review for All Hallows Eve, the first one, which is a horror anthology from 2013. So, today, following up, I'm going to go ahead and review All Hallows Eve 2 from 2015, which would be right here as part of this two pack. So yeah, All Hallows Eve 2. Let's just get into it. I really couldn't find much content on this one, but I was able to use some makeshift websites and stuff to get the information I needed. So All Hallows Eve 2015. Um, Alone on Halloween, a young woman finds a mysterious VHS tape on her doorstep, a tape that shows a series of gruesome and ghastly tales that appear to be too real. But these terrifying glimpses of damned souls are not only the horrors that stalk her. A sinister pumpkin-faced killer is using the videotape as a portal into our reality. And if he makes it through, the twisted trickster seeks only one treat: blood. So yeah, so this movie's produced by Damien Leone, who also produced and directed the first All Hallows Eve. Jesse Baggett and Kimberly Browning. So there's this one's it's kind of the same as the first one and a little bit different. As far as cast goes, I'm not going to go through the whole cast for every single short, or I could make a 20-minute video just on that. So I'm just going to give you the cast of the main wraparound story, which is Andrea Monier and Damien Monier. Damien Monier plays the pumpkin face killer, and Andrea Monier plays the gal that gets the videotape. So I'll just kind of go through the segments. So compared to the first, and I don't want to make direct comparisons, but I'm going to with All Hallows Eve from 2013. That one had three short segments and a more developed wraparound story. This one has less of a wraparound story, but more short segments. There's eight of them actually, eight different segments that she watches on this videotape. They're shorter, of course. They're only like some of them are only a couple minutes long, all the way up to maybe 5 or 10 minutes at most. Um, but yeah, in essence, this young woman by herself has this VHS tape that's placed on her doorstep, and as she's going out to pick it up off the doorstep, she's because somebody knocks on the door and she sees it. She off in the distance, I think down the stairs, she sees this pumpkin faced dude and says hi to it and doesn't respond to her and just kind of stares at her, which is a little bit frightening for her. So, but then anyway, she goes in and plays this videotape. She puts it on, and that's basically the anthology. We're watching these eight shorts that she's watching on the videotape, and then it's got a little bit of an ending in the main story after all eight segments. So it's the same as the first All Hallows Eve in the sense that it's about a videotape that but instead of finding it in a trick or treat bag of one of the kids that she was babysitting in that movie, the babysitter, this movie it's just given to her on her doorstep. And somebody knocks on her door and she finds it and then plays it. But both movies, it's a videotape, and in both movies, in a sense, it's kind of it's an evil entity trying to get through to the person that's watching it, to at least get into their world. So it's similar in that regard, but like I said, the anthology part of it, you have more shorts that are shorter, and it's not so much. All the shorts don't really have anything to do with the pumpkin face killer, as were as in the original All Hallows Eve. They all had to do with something to do with Art the Clown, who was the villain in that movie, to the point where they kind of force some of the stories in that movie. I'll kind of get into it when I get into my my thoughts and review on this, which I'm going to try to keep as spoiler free, of course. But I'm just going to quickly go through the segments as far as the name of them and a little bit what they're about, not too much. So the first segment we get is called Jack Attack. This is directed by Brian Norton and Antonio Padovan. This is essentially about a babysitter with a young boy who they're carving pumpkins and they take the pumpkin guts out and as you sometimes can, you bake the pumpkin seeds in the oven as like a snack or something. And let's just say it ends up kind of going awry on her and the little boy as well. The second segment's called The Last Halloween. This is directed by Mark Rousel. I think's how you pronounce it. Um, this is kind of about a bunch of trick or treaters that go to a couple different houses, and then they come upon this house with this guy that basically tells them to go away repeatedly. It looks like he's got kind of a sick wife. I don't know if she has cancer or what. Not It's not really well explained, but this is an episode where the trick or treaters appear to be a little bit more than what they appear initially. So that's as much as I'll say about that one. The third segment's called "The Offering," directed by Ryan Patch. This is one about two guys that drive up in a truck to this certain area in the woods or off road, and they talk about how one guy forgot the meat. And this one's kind of hard to follow. It really doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's in essence what it is. Segment four is called The Descent, not The Descent, but just Descent, and this is directed by Jay Holben. This is about a woman that witnesses. I'm assuming like it's her friend having been murdered in her apartment, and she hides in the closet and sees the guy that did the killing, and then later on, a few weeks later or whatever, she's at work in an office building and gets in an elevator, and then the same guy gets in the elevator with her, the murderer, the guy that she witnessed, not witnessed killing her sister or friend or whoever she was, but she recognizes the guy as having done that from that night. So that's kind of a trippy segment. Segment five is called The Masochist. This is probably the shortest one. It's directed by the Kondelik brothers, and this is essentially like at a carnival or something, where a bunch of kids, including this one kid who's the son of the guy that's on the spinny carnival wheel like game thing. We find some things out, and it's a really short segment. Segment six called The Boy's Life, directed by Elias um, Benevides, I believe is how you pronounce it. Benavides, whatever. This is a longer segment about a boy and his mom, and the boy's claiming that there's monsters in his room. You know, the old story that we get. It's kind of a sweet story. And it has kind of a creepy ending. And then segment seven's Mr. Tricker's Treat. It's called, directed by Mike Kokansky. This is a shorter segment about a guy that basically uses kids that he traps in like dog kennel cages and stuffed animal cages, and uses them as for his Halloween decorations that he hangs up outside his house. And then the final segment's called Alexa Thomas. This is directed by Andres Borghi. This is like a Spanish version segment about a guy on his computer, and he's messaging this female, I think it is, and she ends up being a little bit more sinister than he originally appears. Kind of has vibes of The Ring a little bit to it. The remake, The Ring from 2002. So those are essentially the segments. Like I said, some of them are shorter, some of them are longer. Um, so getting into my thoughts, it's kind of weird. In some ways, I actually enjoy this movie more, even though it's not as. I recognize the fact that it's really not as well made or not as much as put into it as All Hallows Eve, the first one. It's certainly not as scary, but it's a little bit more of what I wanted from an All Hallows Eve Halloween sort of horror anthology, where the first one was all about Art the Clown, and it was certainly creepier and scarier, more grainy, more low budget than this one. I feel like, but that also made it scarier and more effective for what they were going for. At the end of the day, I would say this one's a better, scarier horror movie, but this one is a better Halloween anthology movie, if that makes sense. Um, so yeah, hopefully that makes sense to you. So yeah, I actually enjoyed All Hallows Eve 2 a little bit more, even though I do recognize that this is a better, scarier film. So we'll just kind of get into my pros and cons. One of the things I enjoy about this one more is my first pro is this one actually has the great Halloween atmosphere, at least in like half the segments that we really didn't get in anything in the first All Hallows Eve. We just know that in the certain segments, and obviously in the wraparound story, it took place on Halloween, and we saw a couple kids in costumes in the wraparound segments. Bags of candy with the tape was in, but that was about it. The segments themselves, even though people were trying to get home or whatever on Halloween, we didn't really get any Halloween atmosphere. So this second one has a lot more Halloween atmosphere, especially in, I would say, three or four of the short segments. They're not all Halloween related, but it's more of what I wanted from this type of, when you call it All Hallows Eve, I'm expecting Halloween atmosphere, especially for a horror anthology. So I really like that part of it. I enjoyed most of the short segments. Actually, there's really only one that I didn't like, um, which I'll get into with my cons. But yeah, I enjoyed all of the segments. None of them are particularly scary. A couple of them are a little bit more gory, but they're all kind of interesting and just fun. Um, Very Halloweeny and very effectively creepy, I would say, for most of them. I really enjoyed segments one, two, four, and eight. So Jack Attack is one I really liked. It's probably actually the best segment of all eight of them, if I'm being honest. Because this one it was creepy. It had the most gore in it. It was interesting. Um, it was kind of a medium size as far as the length of it goes, but um, having to do with the pumpkins, the carving of jack o' lanterns, and I just cannot pronounce that word. And the pumpkin seeds and what happens. It's just kind of a fun segment with good gore. The second segment, the last Halloween, this one's kind of weird, and I don't really understand the story altogether. But the costume and the character designs are really good and really eerie and creepy in this movie. But it does have some bad CGI at the very end. But yeah, I really enjoyed that one. The fourth one, which is Descent, this is more of a psychological, with the elevator and the woman that witnesses this guy who obviously murdered her friend in her apartment, that she gets stuck on the elevator with him. Of course, the elevator gets stuck halfway down. And it has a really nice twist to it, kind of a psychological twist that you really didn't see coming. It was probably the one that was the least predictable out of all of them, so I like that one. And then the last one that was sort of a parody of The Ring, Spanish style, the Alexa Thomas one, where the guy's on his computer and he ends up pulling up this image of this female that's got like her arms got her cut and slit or whatever, and then you get a really creepy image. Is a really effective ending to this one. So yeah, the first one, the great gore effects and the creepy ending. The second one, great character costumes and design, creepy. The fourth one, the most interesting and the most psychologically scary of all the segments. It's tense with great suspense and interesting payoff. And then the eighth one with the kind of Ring parody in Spanish, effectively creepy, great makeup on the villain as well, and the acting's actually pretty decent in Descent, and that last one, Alexa Thomas. Um, Both the gal from the Descent and the main guy on the computer and Alexa Thomas, I thought they did a good job. It's definitely not a perfect Halloween anthology movie. The cons are the wraparound story is the biggest one. There's nothing to it. It's basically just this woman that's like playing Ouija or something at first, and then she's got to knock on the door, and she spends time on the phone. The only thing I like is there was a funny joke written in there when she's on the phone, and her friend or whoever she is asking her, "Well, how come you're watching a VHS tape?" And it's because I can't watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre without having a VCR or something to that effect, which was kind of funny because, of course, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre has that very grainy, low quality grade to it that you tend to get out more on a VHS movie than you do a DVD or a Blu-ray. So I thought that was kind of a funny line that was written by whoever wrote that. But other than that, the wraparound story is pretty uneventful. It's pretty boring. Um, this is definitely more focused on the what's on the tape, where the first one was too, but you only had three segments, and there was a lot more cutbacks to the babysitter and the two kids, and the whole thing with Art the Clown and how he played into not only the stories on the screen, but then when he got out of the screen in the wraparound segment. So just a much better wraparound and more effective wraparound segment, main story in the first All Hallows Eve. This one was not. There was really nothing there. It was just bland. This It doesn't add anything. The villain, this pumpkin face killer, is a far cry from Art the Clown, both in terms of being scary and really having much to do, not really even seeing him that much, and anything to do with the movie. So, yeah, he's just not scary or intimidating at all. Of course, we have to get the little jump scare at the end, which literally the end of the wraparound and the end of the overall movie is literally like a minute and a half long, and I wanted more of a payoff than that, and I didn't get it. Felt kind of ripped off. Um, the look of the pumpkin face killer is kind of laughable and not convincing to begin with, not scary and more silly than anything. Segment three out of the eight segments was definitely the weakest one. This is the one called The Offering, where the two guys are in the truck and apparently they're trying to make some sort of offering to some supernatural thing that's out there. And the one guy doesn't have, he forgets the meat and then he's locked out of the truck and he gets pulled under the truck or something. I don't know. It has nothing to do with Halloween. It was the weakest segment out of all of them, most confusing. Oh, I mentioned there's some bad CGI at the end of the second segment, even though I kind of like that one when it comes to like burning up buildings and stuff. But overall, guys, I have to be honest. I'd probably put this one on before I put on this one for Halloween specifically, even though I do recognize the fact that this is a better made horror movie, especially with Art the Clown, who's just terrifying and has a great entrance into the wraparound, a great tie into the wraparound story as well, much more than this guy does, who's not even scary. Um, but I do recognize, and I recognize the fact that all these short segments and the one that I enjoy more, you can find on YouTube and watch separately. So all they really did, it was kind of lazy filmmaking. All they really did was basically shoot the wraparound story and then steal a bunch of these already existing from like 10 or 12 years, even some of them that are on YouTube, and threw them in this movie. But I have to be honest, I still enjoyed it because I was looking for a Halloween anthology with Halloween atmosphere, which this one didn't really give me. But and this one did, but this one is scary. So if you could somehow take these two movies and like mash it into one overall anthology Halloween movie with Art the Clown being the villain, you'd have almost a perfect horror anthology movie for Halloween vibes. But unfortunately, they're not going to do that. But I did enjoy it. I have to be honest. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10 as far as a rating. Go ahead and let me know what you guys think of All Hallows Eve 2, if you guys have even seen it. If you like horror anthologies and sort of Halloween atmosphere kind of movies for this time of the year, I would recommend that you see it. If you don't like horror anthologies and you just want to be scared and want a lot of blood and killing, then I'd probably just stick to this one and not recommend it. But go ahead and give me your thoughts down below. Like this video, hit the little notification bell so you don't miss any of my future reviews, and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my great horror content, including the rest of this 31 horror movies in October series. So thank you for watching this video. Have a great day. Stay scared. Bye.